It was exactly 3:17. When Judge James Harrison's phone rang, the fate of Britain's most critical case was about to change forever. The recordings of that call still exist, and their content has never been disclosed. Was the complete reversal of his decision 48 hours later just a coincidence? The answer to that question emerges for the first time today, because what happened that night reveals not just one judge's ordeal, but the darkness at the heart of our justice system. March 15, 2024, London. Judge James Harrison was making final preparations for the most critical case of his career. In his hands lay the file that all of Britain was talking about, the Blackwater construction scandal. Billions of pounds in public contracts, forged documents, bribery allegations, and most importantly, the weight of the names involved in this affair. Harrison was known for his 23 years of experience at Westminster Crown Court as an honest judge. He never looked back when making his decisions, but this time was different. The names in the file made even him shudder. Members of Parliament, lords, even figures close to the royal family. He had worked until midnight, examining the final documents in the file. His wife Margaret and their 16-year-old daughter Emma had long since gone to sleep. The silence in their Hampstead home made his thoughts even deeper. "If I pursue this case," he had murmured to himself, "everything will change." Harrison sipped his tea and opened the file once more. He was examining Lord Richard Pemberton's signature, the owner of Blackwater Construction, when the phone rang. 3:17. Who calls at this hour? Harrison initially thought about ignoring the phone, but the ringing didn't stop, persistently continuing for what felt like a full minute. When he looked at his phone, the number he saw surprised him even more. Unknown number. Calls from unknown numbers at midnight never brought good news. "Hello?" Harrison said, the unease clearly evident in his voice. The voice from the other end was calmer and more authoritative than he had ever expected. The British accent was flawless, but there was a coldness behind it. Judge Harrison. "I apologize for this late hour, but I have an urgent matter to discuss with you. Who is this? Who calls at this hour? My identity isn't important right now, Your Honor. What's important is the Blackwater case, the decision you'll make tomorrow." Harrison's heart raced. How did this person know so much detail about this case? The file was highly classified. "Listen, whoever you are, you cannot speak to a judge this way. This case must be shelved, Your Honor." The voice cut him off. "For your own good." Harrison wanted to hang up, but the voice's continuation stopped him. "I know how this sounds, but listen to me. You are a very valuable man, Your Honor. You have a spotless 23-year career. You have a beautiful family. You have plans for Emma's Oxford admission." Harrison's blood ran cold. How did this man know his daughter's name and plans for her future? "You wouldn't dare harm Emma. No one wants to hurt Emma, Your Honor. Quite the opposite. We want a bright future for her. She'll study at Oxford, finish law school, perhaps follow in her father's footsteps. But all of this depends on making the right decisions." The voice on the phone spoke as if reading Harrison's life like a book. Who could this man be? And how had he obtained this information? "The Blackwater case is a complex matter," the voice continued. "There are very big interests involved, very powerful people. As a judge, you're just doing your job, but some decisions can have very heavy consequences." "I work for justice," Harrison said, trying to maintain the determination in his voice. "I don't make decisions under anyone's pressure. Justice is a beautiful concept, Your Honor. But people seeking justice sometimes get hurt. You, your family, unnecessary risks." The man on the other end of the phone had found Harrison's weakest point. His family, Margaret and Emma. He could risk everything for them. "What do you want from me?" Harrison asked, the determination in his voice now gone. "Simple. Tomorrow you'll speak before the jury assembled for the Blackwater case. You'll say that the current evidence is insufficient. The case requires further investigation. 6 months postponement. That's impossible. I have sufficient evidence, the jury. The jury will decide with your guidance, Your Honor. If you tell that jury the evidence is insufficient, they'll believe you. Harrison knew that doing such a thing could end his career, but his family's safety. What happens if I don't do this? I don't think you won't, Your Honor, because you're an intelligent man, and intelligent men protect their families. The silence that followed from the phone made Harrison even more tense. Who could this man be? How did he know so much? I'm giving you 24 hours to think. At 2 p.m. tomorrow in court, you know very well what you'll say. After Harrison hung up, he noticed his hands were trembling. He had been doing this job for 23 years, but he had never faced such pressure. He reopened his phone and checked the last call. It said, unknown number, but one detail caught his attention. Call duration, 7 minutes, 23 seconds. For such a long conversation, there surely must be a record at the phone company. Harrison called his old friend Thomas Whitley, who worked in the security unit at Westminster Crown Court. Whitley was very good at this kind of technical work. Thomas, it's James. Sorry for this late hour, but I have an urgent situation. James? What happened? It's 3:30. I know. Listen, how can I track phone records? I received a call. I need to find out who called me. There was concern in Whitley's voice. James, there's an official procedure for these things. You need prosecutor approval. Thomas, this is very important. Trust me. After a brief silence, Whitley replied, All right, but I can only give technical information. Contact the phone company tomorrow morning. Request call records. But James, if this is a serious threat, the police... Not yet, Thomas. I need to understand what's happening first. After hanging up, Harrison couldn't sleep. He constantly went upstairs to check on Margaret and Emma in their rooms. He tried to listen for any suspicious sounds. At 6 a.m., he got up and called the phone company directly. He said he was facing an urgent situation and needed call records. Your Honor, we certainly have special procedures for you, but we need a legal process for this type of information. How long would that take? Under normal circumstances, 48 to 72 hours. 48 hours. By then it would be too late. The court session was today at 2 p.m. Harrison decided to try a different approach. He went to the technical team at Westminster Crown Court. If the call was recorded, there should be a trace in the court's phone system. Technical expert David Chen frowned when he heard Harrison's request. Your Honor, calls to your home phone wouldn't be recorded in our system, but if the call came from a special network, there might be some traces. What do you mean? Some institutions use special encrypted lines, MI5, MI6, even some private security companies. If the call came from such a line, the system automatically gives a warning. Chen looked at his computer and asked for Harrison's date of birth. After running a system scan, something appeared on his screen. Interesting. There's a system alert for you from last night at 3:17. The call came from a level 7 security-coded line. What does level 7 mean? Above government clearance. Very few institutions in Britain can use this code. Thousands of possibilities were racing through Harrison's mind. Who could have level 7 security clearance? And why were they calling him? With the information from Chen, he called Thomas Whitley again. Thomas, who has level 7 security clearance. The surprise in Whitley's voice was clear. James, where did you hear about this? Answer me, Thomas. Level 7, that's very high level. Royal Security Service, some special MI6 operations, and there's one more very secret unit. They call it the Crown Protection Unit. They're responsible for the security of the royal family and very high-level state institutions. But James, if they called you... Harrison hung up. Crown Protection Unit? He had never heard this name. but it was clearly a very powerful organization. Why would the Blackwater construction case interest people with such high-level security clearance? He reopened the file and began to examine it more carefully, and then he saw it. On page 247 of the file, a small note: Royal Estate Development Partnership, confidential agreement. Royal Estate Development Partnership? Did Blackwater Construction have connections to the royal family? As Harrison researched deeper, he discovered shocking details. Blackwater Construction had carried out numerous projects on behalf of the royal family over the past 5 years. Renovation of Balmoral Castle, the new security complex at Windsor, even the secret tunnel system at Buckingham Palace. If Blackwater Construction were found guilty, these projects would also be questioned. And this was a situation the royal family would not want. Now it was becoming clear where the midnight call came from. Crown Protection Unit was trying to protect the royal family from potential scandal. But Harrison's conscience wasn't at ease. The evidence in his hands was clear. Blackwater Construction had embezzled billions of pounds of public money. Could he turn a blind eye to this? The phone rang. It was 11:30, and the caller was again an unknown number. "Your Honor, I hope you thought about it." The same voice, the same cold authority. "I know who you are," Harrison said. A brief silence from the other end. "Good. Then you understand the seriousness of the situation. Are you working on behalf of the royal family?" "I don't work on behalf of anyone, Your Honor. I work on behalf of the country, and sometimes the country's interests can be more important than our individual sense of justice. This is billions of pounds. This money is a very small part of the bigger picture. If you shut down Blackwater Construction's projects, there will be much greater damage. National security projects will remain unfinished." Harrison understood now. This wasn't just about money. The work that Blackwater Construction did was part of Britain's security infrastructure. "But what about justice?" Harrison asked. "Justice, Your Honor, is sometimes sacrificed for the bigger picture. Think about Emma's future. Think about Margaret's peace. Think about your own 23-year career." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering you choices. If you make the smart choice, your life continues normally. Emma goes to Oxford, you get promoted, you live happily as a family. But if you make the wrong choice, what happens?" "Emma's Oxford application gets rejected. Some old files about you surface. Margaret's medical history leaks to insurance companies. Your life becomes hell." Harrison's blood froze. This man really knew everything. "You said 24 hours. There's still time." "Yes, but the court session is in 2.5 hours. You need to make your decision and make your preparations." Harrison hung up. Now he had to make a choice. 1:30 p.m. Harrison sat in his office at Westminster Crown Court. On his desk were 2 files. One was the real Blackwater file, with complete evidence. The other was the version Crown Protection Unit wanted. Insufficient evidence conclusion. Margaret had called. "James, there's something strange in your voice today. Is everything all right?" "Yes, darling, just a bit tired." "Emma is proud of you, you know. She says, 'My father fights for justice.'" These words pierced Harrison's heart like an arrow. 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes until he had to enter the courtroom. He looked at the files one last time. Blackwater Construction was truly guilty. Forged documents, bribery, embezzling billions of pounds. It was all clear and evident. But his family's safety. Harrison stood up. He had made his decision. Westminster Crown Court's Grand Hall was packed. Press, public listeners, case parties, everyone was waiting for Harrison's statement. When Harrison took the podium, the silence in the hall was like a physical weight. He opened the file in his hand. "Honorable jury members, I've examined in detail the Blackwater Construction case brought before you today." Harrison looked at the jury members' faces. 12 ordinary citizens full of expectations from justice. The evidence presented in this case. Harrison paused. Emma's words, "My father fights for justice," crossed his mind. The evidence presented in this case is definitive and clear. A murmur rose in the hall. Harrison was saying the opposite of what he had planned. Blackwater Construction Company is guilty of embezzling public resources, producing forged documents, and bribery. I request the jury to make a clear decision on this matter. After Harrison's decision, the courtroom went wild. Blackwater Construction's lawyers were objecting. Press flashes were going off. Jury members were in shock. As Harrison stepped down from the podium, his phone vibrated. Unknown number. He didn't answer. That night when he returned home, Margaret and Emma greeted him. "Dad, we saw you on television. I'm so proud," Emma said, hugging him. "Me too," Margaret said. "You did the right thing." As Harrison hugged his family, his phone rang again. Unknown number. This time he answered. "Your Honor, you made the wrong decision today." "No," Harrison said in a calm voice. "Today I made the only right decision. There will be consequences." "I know, but some things are more important than their consequences." Harrison hung up and hugged his family. He didn't know what would happen tomorrow, but his conscience was clear. 3 months later, Emma's Oxford application was rejected. Reason: insufficient academic performance. 6 months later, an investigation was launched against Harrison for ethical violations he experienced in the past. 1 year later, Margaret's health insurance was canceled. Reason: risk factors. But Harrison wasn't sorry, because the Blackwater construction case had caused the public tender system in Britain to change fundamentally. Tens of billions of pounds in public money had been saved, and most importantly, Emma was still proud of her father. "Dad," she had said to him the other day, "maybe I won't be able to go to Oxford, but I know my father chose justice." Every time Harrison remembered the phone call he received at 3:17 that night, he thought the same thing. Justice always demands a price. But there is a price not worth paying. That price was not listening to the voice of his conscience. This story, though it appears to be a simple midnight phone call, actually gives us a greater message about power and justice. Sometimes the system tries to bend us. Sometimes it takes our loved ones hostage. But real power is being able to choose what's right despite these pressures. Judge Harrison's story has ended, but the fight against injustice continues, because every right choice makes it easier for someone else to make the right choice too. Justice is a choice, and that choice is made in phones that ring at midnight.